Oh, and Ashley, it's Melinda. If there's any chance that you could email that PowerPoint, we'd love to have it.
I sure will send it over. I'll send it over following this meeting.
So
Wonderful.
hello, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this evening's discussion. And those of you who are watching us remotely on YouTube, I am pleased to introduce to you Ashley Irving. It's the lady with the purple shirt on, not this one, not this lady with the purple shirt, but the other lady with the long hair and the purple shirt, and who has been with the 491 board since 2015 in at least 4 different capacities. And now she's the big cheese over there in 491. Are you still working with was it optometrist that you were also working with?
Yes, so this is actually a multi-board office. I am the executive director for podiatric medicine, orthotists and prosthetists, opticianry, mental health professions, athletic training, and hearing aid specialist. I'm also the executive director for 2 department regulated professions, which is genetic counseling and certified master of social work.
Wow. I'm blown away. And I bet sometimes you are too.
Yes.
A little bit blown away with all of that work. My goodness. All right. Well, happily, the only board that you're representing tonight is 491 and principally marriage and family therapy, because the host for this evening is the Florida Marriage and Family Therapy Network. And we are the statewide online organization that we represent and advocate for MFTs across the life cycle, from students to registered interns to licensees to supervisors, the whole deal. But there have been a number of really important changes to the law. And let's see, I am going to make you the presenter, Ashley, because you said that you've got a PowerPoint for us. Yes. And so let me put you in that role. All right, there you go.
All right, let me find my presentation.
And I see that people are continuing to stream in. This is wonderful to have you all tonight. All right, we do see your PowerPoint.
Okay, awesome. Is it clear?
I think so, yes.
All right. So again, thank you for having me this afternoon. It's always a pleasure to work with the Florida Interest Network and the Florida Family Therapy Alliance. And I'm sorry, Susan's phone isn't quite on me.
I've got someone making a little noise here.
You may have to mute everybody.
Yep, and as soon as I figure out how to do that, I will do it.
Think about, you know.
Oh my, I wonder who that is that's having such a good evening. All right, okay, so hopefully that we've gotten the message through. Okay, thank you, Ashley.
All right, perfect. So thank you for giving a little bit of background about me, Anna Lynn. I'm currently serving as the executive director. I've been working with this board office since 2015. And as previously mentioned, I've worked in several different capacities within this organization. Along with myself, there is a program operations administrator, Sandra Williams. We have a regulatory supervisor, consultant, Christina Williams, 7 regulatory specialist twos, and those are generally the individuals who are processing your initial applications and answering your questions on the front line, and 1 board attorney, Marlene Stern. We're currently servicing about 44,000 licensees, almost 45,000 licensees. Specific to marriage and family therapy, there are about 3,030 LMFTs in the state and about 713 registered marriage and family therapy interns. I always like to provide information about our mission because this is very important to me and it helps to guide what we're doing every day. So at the Department of Health, we work under the Division of Medical Quality Assurance. And our mission is to protect, promote, and improve the health of all people in Florida through integrated state, county, and community efforts. Our vision is to be the healthiest state in the nation, and our values, we shorten it to I care. That means we are working toward innovation, collaboration, accountability, responsiveness, and excellence every day. Within the Department of Health, Division of Medical Quality Assurance, we work in conjunction with about 22 boards, 6 councils, and we license 7 different types of healthcare facilities, more than 200 license types, and over 40 healthcare professionals. Earlier, I mentioned that our previous executive director, Janet Hartman, had been promoted to bureau chief, and Janet is actually the bureau chief servicing all of these professions currently. So
Hello,
just
everybody.
a little background on what she's doing. So the board's primary responsibility is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public by ensuring that healthcare professionals that we license meet the statutorily mandated standards of competency. Florida statute allows the Board of Clinical Social Work, Marriage and Family Therapy, and Mental Health Counseling to have 9 designated board members. We currently have 7 seats filled. Those 9 board members are appointed by the governor. There are 2 licensed clinical social workers, 2 marriage and family therapists, 2 mental health counselors, and 3 consumers. These are our current board members that you see on your screen, and we currently have 2 consumer seats that are vacant right now. Again, these board members are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate, and their primary responsibilities are approving and denying licensure application, reviewing and approving continuing education courses and providers, promulgating administrative rules authorized by statute, determining probable cause, and disciplining licensees found to be in violation of applicable laws. The board meets at least 4 times a year in various locations all over Florida. The meetings are open to the public and anyone is welcome to attend. Licensees may earn 3 hours of continuing education credit in risk management by attending a board meeting where disciplinary hearings are conducted. Some of the topics that we discussed at board meetings include disciplinary proceedings, application reviews, petitions, scope of practice, continuing education, rules discussion, and promulgation. I would like to direct everyone to our board website. This will be a wealth of information for you. The board's website is Florida's mentalhealthprofessions.gov. On this website, you will find helpful items like how to apply for a license, how to renew your license, how you can check your application status. For those of you who are interested in the exam, there's a link for exam services. You can even look up the annual report for each school's exam. So the report for marriage and family therapy comes out quarterly, and it is typically updated quarterly on our website. You can learn about the licensure process, the requirements, the fees, and the administrative statutes. I would encourage everyone to go to our website and subscribe to the website. When you subscribe to our website, on the homepage, you are privy to emails and updates on board information. All the latest news and items impacting your profession are updated here, and it can come directly to your inbox. We also have a Twitter page, which is at FL Mental Health. So some responsibilities for professionals. I would encourage everyone to be familiar with the laws and rules that govern your profession. If you are a student or a registered intern, I know laws and rules, it's not required until you're ready to apply for full licensure, but I would encourage you to take the course as soon as possible so that you know more information about the laws and rules that govern your profession. That information can be found at cebroker.com by searching laws and rules. Before supervision begins, please verify that your registered intern number has been issued. Registered interns must remain under supervision until they are fully licensed. Keep a copy of all the supervision logs that you have with your qualified supervisor. And also make sure you stay involved with your professions, associations, and organizations. This page shows us a list of helpful resources. So all of the laws and rules affecting your profession or the statutes directly affecting your profession will be chapters 491 and 456. The rules affecting your profession will be 64B4, and they can be found at flrules.org. You can visit the Department of Health website at www.flhealth.gov, or the board's website, which we just went over, Florida's mentalhealthprofessions.gov. Please save this information, and I believe it will be a wealth of information for you and very resourceful. So I believe many of you are here tonight to discuss Senate Bill 566, which is the mental health professional licensure bill. This bill amends the minimum education requirements for licensure as a clinical social worker, marriage and family therapist, or mental health counselor. The bill addressed the unintended consequence of the previously filed bill, allowing marriage and family therapist applicants who graduated from programs that were not co-MFT accredited, Florida KCREP accredited, that took effect on July 1st. They were not able to apply for licensure in the state of Florida if they were not graduates of, again, co-MFT accredited programs or Florida KCREP accredited programs. The new bill allows until September 1st of 2027 for anyone applying for a marriage and family therapy license to complete one of the following options. They must earn a master's degree from a program accredited by co-MFT. They must earn a master's degree with a major emphasis in marriage and family therapy or a closely related field from a university accredited by KCREP, or they must earn a master's degree with major emphasis in marriage and family therapy or a closely related field with the degree conferred before September 1st of 2027 from an institutionally accredited college or university. So this date, September 1st, 2027, is very important to remember. Anyone applying for a marriage and family therapy license in the state of Florida has to meet one of these three requirements prior to that date. Does anyone have any questions or want to jump in here for discussion?
I just want to clarify, Ashley, after September 1st of 2027, only co-MFT or KCREP accredited masters will be accepted. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so for those schools that have graduates that are not accredited, they can apply for registered intern status and get licensed and all that prior to 2027. But after that, only accredited programs, not just accredited schools, but accredited programs can become registered and go through the registered intern status.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Now, if someone is licensed in another state, then they can come into Florida through the licensure by endorsement process and it doesn't matter if they had an accredited master's. Is that correct?
Would you repeat that question, please?
So let's say someone is in Virginia and is licensed LMFT or LMHC in the state of Virginia, and then wants to apply for licensure in Florida through the endorsement process rather than the examination process.
Right.
They would be allowed to go through that process, and it doesn't matter if their degree is KCREP or COAMFD, because they've already been licensed in another state.
That's absolutely correct. About 2 years ago, the law changed for endorsement requirements. So we are no longer doing a course by course evaluation for endorsement applicants. Endorsement applicants are only required to provide us a license verification showing that they have a clear active license in another state, proof of passing their exam, and the continuing education coursework.
Right. And you're talking about the continuing education coursework that Florida requires, the laws, the 8 hours laws and rules, et cetera.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you.
Annalyn, can
Yes,
you hear
ma'am.
me? Can you hear me, Ashley?
Yes, Melinda.
Yeah, just to give a little background for those that are not familiar with what the ladies just said, we worked really hard to streamline the opportunities for those professionals, those practitioners from out of state that wanted to live and practice in Florida. For many years, I don't know how many years, Ashley may know, or even Annalyn, professionals wanted to come to Florida, but because, say, they'd gotten their degrees 25, 30 years ago, they were required by law to produce syllabi, to produce particular course content that, they didn't have anymore. Schools have closed, et cetera, et cetera. So we wanted that streamlined ability for folks coming in. That would have helped build marriage and family therapy population. I just wanted to add that little background.
Yeah, but that was also the year that we got that streamlined is also the year that the glitch happened, and we had some people shut out for 2 years because of the miswording in there. So now we have that wording fixed, and that went into effect July 1st. So
Yes.
so we're happy about all of that. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about what happens for those folks who tried to apply for MFT registered status back in July of 2020 and were not allowed to, and now want to. What is the process for them?
So now many individuals who did not qualify for the marriage and family therapy intern license at that time applied for the mental health counselor intern license so that they can begin their process. And currently, if someone who was in that situation would like to apply for a marriage and family therapy intern license, they would be allowed to apply for that license because they're meeting the statutory requirements now. The department is actually waiving the application fee for those interns who want to go from intern to intern status.
Wow, fantastic. And by the way, Ashley, we are very grateful that you and Janet made open the possibility for them to start their hours in mental health counseling, because that really was a big deal for them to start working, because otherwise they would have been very, very limited in what they could do and couldn't have collected any hours. May I assume that all the hours that they collected will count, with some caveats? If they got a mental health supervisor, will their hours count towards marriage and family?
So we would like, we encourage those individuals to obtain a qualified supervisor in marriage and family therapy so that they could continue to get the background in marriage and family therapy and the supervision in marriage and family therapy. So we'll be counting those hours for marriage and family therapy towards marriage and family therapy.
But if they had a mental health counselor, those hours do not count towards the MFT, or only the individual and group hours count?
will be counting the hours that they have completed with the marriage and family therapist. So if they have done them with the mental health counselor, those hours will not count toward licensure.
Good, but it will count towards mental health counseling if they decide to go forward with that license.
That's right. If they want to continue forward in the mental health profession, then that is available as well.
So the wise person either got a supervisor that was qualified in both or got 2 supervisors.
Correct. And we, in the board office, as staff members, we have tried to encourage them to do that prior to them registering as a marriage and as a mental health counselor, in turn, knowing that the original intent was to register in marriage and family therapy.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
Now, I will say, Annalyn, there is a question in the chat.
Right. Let me pull that up and we will take a look at that. So, so does this include people with LCSW or LMHCs trying to earn dual license as LMFT through taking the exam?
So that would be a little bit different, because anyone applying for dual licensure of marriage and family therapy, we have never looked at their education. They have to have held a license for 3 years in the state in the qualifying profession, and then they apply for dual licensure MFT. We issue the exam code. If they meet the requirements, they register and take the exam. If they pass, then they are issued a LMFT in the state.
Right. So the requirement to have a degree in marriage and family or equivalent is still required.
Not for dual licensure elements.
Oh, that's right. If they don't want to do it through a registered intern status, if they just want to be licensed for 3 years, then they can take the exam and be licensed. Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
Now I have another question. Do students from unaccredited programs need to become registered interns by September 1st, 2027, or do they need to apply for licensure before that date?
They will need to, let me back up a little bit. So it reads that they will need to be graduates up until September 1st of 2027. So they will need to have been a registered intern and completed the education requirements prior to September 1 of 2027.
So if somebody graduated on August 31st from a non-accredited program and became registered on September 1st, 2027, they could go forward in getting their registered intern and license as an LMFT. It doesn't mean that they have to finish the full licensure process by September 1st of 2027.
Right, that is correct.
Okay, good, thank you. So I have another question. After passing the licensing exam and completing the supervision hours, when is the right time for registered interns to stop supervision? Is it after completing all CEUs and receiving license, or can be stopped immediately? I know the answer to that one. You have to have license in hand.
That's right.
So the license has to be in hand in order to stop supervision.
That's right. The statutory requirement is that you remain under supervision until you are fully licensed. So even though you have met the minimum requirement for the license, you want to continue to go to supervision and remain under a qualified supervisor until you are fully licensed.
And that's true for all 3 of the licenses under this board. That's not just MFT, correct. It's also MHC and LCSW. All right. So when will registered interns be able to practice therapy with clients without having someone in the same building that's licensed? Because it used to be that if you had a supervisor available by phone, that was okay. So Jessica, that was never okay. If you're doing private practice, the only way that's going to change is the law changes. Ashley doesn't have any control, nor does the board have any control over that. That is law. Ashley, could you expand on that?
Yes, and I would say, Jessica, we have a wonderful telehealth guide on our website on the very first page. It gives a very easy breakdown of what registered interns are allowed to do, in-state and out-of-state licensees are allowed to do, and some best practices when using telehealth. It depends on the scenario. The rule actually requires that if you are going to be providing or doing supervised experience via telehealth, that one, you have a telehealth protocol in place with your qualified supervisor. Okay, so that's to protect you, the client, and the qualified supervisor. And I'm speaking about Rule 64B4 2.002. So in this rule, it actually was updated, I believe, in 2020 around the onset of COVID-19, so that supervision can continue between the intern and the qualified supervisor, and so that registered interns will be allowed to provide telehealth services as well. If you are working in a private practice setting, you will always need to have a mental health professional on the premises.
So this is for all private practices. If you work
Yes.
for nonprofit, it's a different story, because those are the things that you can do without a license. You don't even have to have a license to work in a not-for-profit, government, all of those things that are listed in the law about that. Well, Jennifer asks, for those who registered as mental health counseling interns because they did not have an accredited program, but now want to switch, do they have to submit a new application? And I believe you already said, Ashley, that yes, they do need to submit a new application, but happily the fee is waived.
Exactly. So yes, you will need to submit the application. We are waiving the fee for those who are going from intern to intern status. Now, if you're going from intern to full licensure status, we are not waiving that fee, but we are waiving the fee for intern to intern status.
Excellent, excellent. But you still have to fill out the 10 pages of the application, show your education, all of those things that have to happen, just as if you were doing it for the very first time. Yeah. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions, but I see you have several more slides. I have more questions, but I'd like you to go through your slides first to make sure that you don't already answer them.
All right, we're almost to the end. I just want to provide a bit of information for those who may be applying for a license. The fastest way to have your application process is by following these 3 steps. So number 1, you want to prepare all of your supporting documents that go along with your application. That includes your official transcript, your practicum letter if one is needed, qualified supervisor if you're applying for an intern license, verification of clinical experience form, and your continuing education certificates. If we have all of the documents up on the initial review, your application will be processed much faster than someone who is piecemealing information to our office. If you submit an application on August 1st, and you don't submit your supporting documents until August 30th, then we will not be able to complete the review of that application until we receive all of the documentation. And that's going to bring me down to number 3. We'll talk about that in just a minute. The second step, after you have prepared all of your supporting documents, go ahead and apply for the license and pay the fee. The fee for the intern registration is $150, and the fee for the full license is $180. Again, the most expedited way to go through this process is online. Our website, floridasmentalhealthprofessions.gov, you almost on every page, you can find a route to the application. If you would prefer to print and mail your application, that is also available on the website under the licensing link and under the resources link. You can print the PDF version of the application, and please be sure to pay attention to the mailing address. There will be 2 different mailing addresses on that application. One is for the application and fee, and one is listed for supporting documents. The application and fee should go to the PO box, which is 6330. And if you are sending in supporting documentation, you will send that to the 4052 Ball Cypress Way address. Okay. And lastly, you will receive a deficiency letter or an approval letter. if you submit your application and you have not submitted all of the supporting documents that go along with that application, we will send you what we call a deficiency letter. We're going to list out every item that you are missing on that application. By law, we have up to 30 days to do a review of an initial application. Okay. If you have submitted all of your supporting documents, then we will, and you meet all of the requirements, we will send you an approval letter for your license. So quite often I get asked, how long does it take to process an application? It really takes us as long to process it as it takes you to submit the documentation to our office. So if it takes 6 months for you to submit the official transcript, it's going to take 6 months for us to process your application. Now, over on the right-hand side of the page are just some things to remember when submitting the application. Allow up to 30 days for processing the initial application. It does not typically take us that long. We tend to process in 10 days or less on average. When you're submitting supporting documents after you have submitted your application, allow 7 to 14 days for us to process those documents. We have a receipt process here as well. Things go through a mail room. They go through a number of gatekeepers. So it takes us a little while to get the information. We don't get it as soon as you push send. So allow us 7 to 14 days to process any fax, mail, or uploaded documents. We also process in the order in which we receive these items. So just because you sent it today doesn't mean that it'll be processed today. It's going to go to in line in the order in which it was received. So everyone's application is treated fairly. Incomplete applications will expire after 1 year. So if it has been 365 days, and you have not submitted all of the supporting documents for your application, the department will close it out. And at that time, if you wish to continue with the application process, you will be asked to submit another application and a new fee.
So the wise person collects all these things up and sends them all at one time.
That's right.
And that is the fastest way to get it, because it's only the complete ones that you begin to process, that you actually begin to review.
Well, we will review it from the moment we receive it, right? But you want to have all the supporting documents that go along with it.
Now, you also have on here to not confuse the file number with the license number. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So when we receive your application, the department assigns you what's called a file number. That is not the same as your license number, and it will not be your license number. It's just the number that you are assigned so we can keep track of your license application and the supporting documents. So you want to remember that information when you're calling into the department. When you call us or you contact us, we will probably ask you to provide the file number so that we can identify your documents. I know my name is Ashley, which is a very common name. And I may think that, there's only one Ashley Irving in Florida, but I guarantee you there are other Ashley Irvings here, and they may very well be in the mental health profession. So we need to know your specific information. It's very important that when you're registering as an intern, that you wait on a license number, okay? I have seen many people submit the application to become a registered intern, and then they start going to supervision. And 2 years later, they contact the department thinking that they have completed the requirement, and they have not. Their intern status was never even issued. So we want to avoid that by differentiating between these two numbers, okay? The file number is when you submit your application. Once you have been approved, you will be issued a license number.
And for registered interns in marriage and family therapy, that's an IMT number.
That's correct. Once your license number is issued, it will start with IMT.
Now, Dale has a question here about when is the best time to apply for licensure in December or January so they do not have to reapply. Dale, could you come on and explain that question a little bit more for us?
So I have a registered intern right now who will be able to apply to become licensed in probably end of November, beginning of December. But would it be better for him to wait till so how far after, so when I renew my license, I probably will renew it in January because then it will be, for 2025, but so that he gets a 2025 license instead of one date that expires 2023, so he doesn't have to reapply again.
I would advise anyone that is new to the profession or anyone applying for registered intern status to apply once the degree has been conferred. We are approaching a renewal period.
No, for license, not for registered intern. I'm sorry, not to become a
licensure,
registered,
right.
for licensure, to become a licensed person.
Let me ask it a different way, Ashley. So if the licensure, the renewal is coming up on 23, and so everybody who's licensed wants to have one that expires in 25, right? But if someone applies, say in November or December, how many months extra does the brand new first time licensee get, so that they don't have to pay again in 23?
We are approaching a renewal period. For those of you who may not know, those who are licensed will be required to renew their license on March 31st. The cutoff date for that will probably be in December. So to just be safe, I would advise that person to apply in January.
Good to know.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Yes,
good to
thank
know.
you.
Excellent. So if it's November, that there might be a risk that they'd have to renew in 23, but if they apply in January 23, they'll be good through to 25.
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
We typically start sending out renewal notices about 120 days prior to the expiration date. You will receive postcards and you will receive emails from the department. Emails is something new that we're starting to do. So those of you who have provided email addresses to us, you will receive an email probably around November or December, letting you know, hey, the time is approaching for renewal. And we typically cut off about 90 days prior to. No one will be able to ask for a duplicate copy of their license during that time. I don't believe that you'll be able to do address changes as well during that that 90-day period.
Okay. So we have it looks like a supervisor who has sent a letter verifying acceptance of a registered intern, but has not received back notification that the intern that letter has gotten through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess that if the intern is starting, wants to start with the supervisor, that intern will get the notification that the new supervisor has been approved. Is that not true, Ashley?
That is correct. So the letter from the department is sent directly to the intern. We don't typically send it to the qualified supervisor, and I'll be completely transparent with you as well. Just like the rest of the world, we have been facing workforce issues, and we are a little farther behind than we typically are in our responses. So if you sent it, between the 7 and 14 day time frame, and it's been a little bit longer, that is absolutely happening right now in our office. We have had quite a few vacancies. I believe between the months of December and now, we probably consistently had 4 to 5 vacancies in our office.
Ooh.
I'm happy to say that we are currently fully staffed and we are getting back on track. So you should be receiving a response shortly. If you, when I get to the end of the PowerPoint, my email address will be there, and you are welcome. You feel free to contact me to just follow up on the status of that letter.
I appreciate that, Ashley. That's very, very kind of you. Now, Larry has a question about statutes referencing MFT coursework that may be included in addition to COAMFT or KCREP. Larry, I don't understand your question. Could you come off mute and explain for us?
I think I understand it.
Oh, do you? Okay, good.
Yes. So in the law change that we went over in Senate Bill 566, if you are a COAMFT graduate or graduate of an institutionally accredited university, you must also complete additional coursework and provide your practicum letter. So the coursework has already been set in rule by the board, and there are 11 specific courses required for marriage and family therapy.
And these are for people who have not graduated from an accredited program.
So they will be graduates of KCREP programs and institutionally accredited programs.
Gotcha. But COAMFT is accepted. The coursework is accepted straight up.
That's absolutely correct. The coursework and the practicum is accepted for COAMFT. So COAMFT graduates do not have to produce a practicum letter or any specific coursework.
Or any additional coursework. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Just to add on to the question or get clarification a little bit. I know with mental health counseling, it specifies KCREP, and then we also, the state of Florida requires the sexuality course and a course in substance abuse, part of KCREP. Will there be something like that we can expect in the university that says, okay, you have a KCREP accredited marriage and family degree, but we also have some courses that are fixed to the state of Florida?
So last year, the board did a review and they did a comparison of the KCREP requirements and the coursework that they were requiring for the institutionally accredited programs. And they decided to keep the list the same, because if they are graduates of KCREP programs, and these institutional accredited programs, the coursework will be the same because the KCREP standard is not going to change. So there will be a few courses there that are required, but more than likely not. They struck through the course. It slips my mind right now. There was a general theories course required previously, and I believe personality theories, that's what it was. When they did the comparison of the two, personality theories was no longer required in the KCREP standard. So they struck through that in rule. So the 11 courses that are listed out for requirements for marriage and family therapy, they are actually the core courses for KCREP as well.
Thank you.
Great. And I imagine that all the programs will be adding those courses to their program to make sure that their graduates have all they need.
Yes, I can speak from experience. We don't typically run into many marriage and family therapy applicants who don't have all of this coursework. They may be missing one course, but that's all. Most schools have covered the requirement for Florida.
Right, right. So Dale is asking if there's a Spanish version of the national exam, and Dale, you'd actually have to take that up with AMFTRB because they're the ones that actually do the test. But certainly they at AMFTRB.org, I think it is where you would reach out to find out. At the present time, however, there is not a Spanish version to my knowledge. All right, I have a question about best way to submit class certification for classes required for licensure. So those would be like the CE, the laws, 8-hour laws and rules, the 2 hours of domestic violence, the 3 hours of HIV. So right now, registered interns do not upload things to CE Broker. Is that correct, Ashley?
That is absolutely correct. So the best way to submit to our office would be through our email box or your upload portal. So once you submit your application to the department, and you are a registered intern, you will have access to an online portal. You can go in that portal and upload documents directly to our office. You can email those items to mqa.491@flhealth.gov. That information is on the screen currently. You can fax it into our office, or you can do traditional snail mail into the office. We accept it all different ways.
Right. Probably the easiest is to scan the certificate that you get from the provider and then just upload it. That would be the fastest, certainly. Well, now we're into the sticky stuff, Ashley. Provisional licenses and what happens to folks that that have now expired in their 5 years. Can you give a little overview on what are the different stages or the different options for those folks?
Okay, so as many of you know, back in 2017, legislation passed limiting the time that someone could be a registered intern in the state, and that was limited to 5 years. So many people, I think we had somewhere around 5,000 interns across all 3 professions expiring. And I do apologize, I don't have the number for marriage and family therapy today. But all of those individuals either applied for full licensure or they are kind of in a limbo status. So for those who have completed their supervised experience and just say they don't have coursework or they haven't passed the national exam, they are eligible for a provisional license. So this license is available to any applicant by exam or endorsement who has already met the minimum requirement of 2 years of postmaster's experience, but they don't meet the licensure requirement. This license is valid for 24 months and it cannot be renewed. So this will allow the licensee to continue to work in Florida under the supervision of a licensed professional. It is an additional application and it does come with an additional fee of $100.
So they would have 24 months to essentially pass the darn exam.
That's correct.
Basically. And I think they're required to receive supervision monthly. Is that correct?
Yes, provisional licensees are required to get supervision at least once per month.
All right. All right.
Let me go back a little bit because you mentioned the exam. I do have a slide on the exam. So you must pass the national exam developed by the Examination Advisory Committee of the Association of Marital and Family Therapy Regulatory Boards, or the AMFTRB, and Professional Exam Services. And the board office issues exam approval or an exam code once your education has been certified complete. So that's all coursework being completed and all practicum hours complete.
Excellent. So the person who passed the exam but did not finish their hours, their clinical supervised hours within the 5 years, they are allowed to apply for the 2-year extension. Is that not correct?
Yes, so the statute actually allowed the board to create what was called a hardship exception. And the board created a rule that stated if someone had a hardship while they were a registered intern and they have passed the national exam and their education is certified complete, they can apply for a hardship extension. We will grant that extension to you if you meet those 2 requirements, and the extension is for 24 months.
Now that person must stay under regular supervision, the 1 hour every other week.
That's absolutely right, because this is an extension of their intern license.
Gotcha.
So just to clarify, your intern license can't expire and then you apply. You have to apply prior to your license expiring and qualify in both areas. So again, the exam, you must have passed the exam and your education must be complete.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. So Ashley, I have to ask, what do those poor unfortunates that neither passed the exam in the 5 years nor finished all of their hours. What does that poor person do?
Unfortunately, that person can no longer practice in the state of Florida under that registered intern status. So they will need to find other provisions in order to meet the licensure requirements.
And at this point, the state is not prepared to tell you to authorize any particular options of that type.
Not really. We have been advising individuals that they can go out of state to complete the hours, register in another state and transfer those additional hours back over. You don't lose any hours that you've completed in the state of Florida, but you still must meet the minimum requirement for full licensure.
So if one is no longer a registered intern because they've expired, can they still keep taking the test?
Yes, they can. We have made provisions with the national exam vendor to continue to provide an exam code to those individuals who need to continue to take the test. So it's still the same requirement. You must have completed your education requirements in order to be issued an exam code.
Gotcha. So if someone has neither the exam or their hours done and they've expired, their best bet is to get that damn test passed, and then they could maybe apply for provisional license to be able to finish up.
That is absolutely, well, they wouldn't be able to earn any supervised experience. So in your original question, was this person missing hours?
Yes, that
Okay,
was
so
my, yeah.
You cannot earn hours with the provisional license. The only license that you can earn supervised experience under is the intern registration.
Oh, okay. So that's where continuing to go to another state, Georgia, Mississippi, some other state, and collect hours under that state, those hours would transfer into Florida at some point, especially after they pass the exam.
Yes, and one point to remember if you're doing that is that you must meet all of Florida's requirement when it comes to supervision. So some states will allow supervisions from a medical doctor or ARNP. Florida will not accept those hours. You must still meet the legal requirements for supervision. So your supervisor is going to need to be a LMFT, LMHC, LCSW, or a psychologist.
Now, would they, let's say someone decides to meet to do their registered intern, finish up their hours in, say, Georgia, would that supervisor have to be Florida qualified as well as Georgia qualified, or will the Georgia qualification be enough?
The Georgia qualification is enough. Each state has their own requirements.
Qualifications, right?
That's right, and their own qualifications. So at that point, you will be providing services to Georgia's clients, not Florida's clients.
Not Florida clients. All right. Now I have another question regarding telehealth license. Okay. So it was my understanding that if I live in Virginia and I'm licensed in Virginia, I can apply to be a Florida telehealth provider, but I can't then subsequently move to Florida and continue to be a telehealth provider. Once I move here to Florida, don't I have to get a full Florida license?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So if someone, because I know some people that live in Florida, but they're working under the telehealth license.
So there is an out-of-state telehealth registrant. You can be licensed out of state and provide services in Florida. You just have to register as an out-of-state provider with the state.
But they can't be living in Florida and work under that license.
That's absolutely correct.
So they have to be living outside of Florida for that all to be legal.
Right, outside of the state of Florida. And if they move to Florida, then they need to apply for a license within the state.
I thought as much. I appreciate that clarification. All righty. Well, it looks like we've run out of the questions. Well, Susie has her hand up. Yes, Susie, what's your question?
I'm sorry. I just, I know we talked about it earlier for my intern to file a grievance. I just wanted to check, what is the process to file a grievance?
Oh, I think
Let's give some background. This is
Oh,
a
yes,
registered
I'm sorry.
intern who did hours under one supervisor, has it all thoroughly documented, but that supervisor has essentially disappeared and refuses to fill out the verification form.
Oh, man.
What is an intern to do?
So you can file a complaint against that qualified supervisor. Okay, so you will want to go, and I know my slide is talking about unlicensed activity on this slide, but it is still the same division. Our consumer services division is where you will want to go to file a complaint. So right here on the top of this slide is www.flhealthcomplaint.gov. You want to go there and file a complaint against the qualified supervisor. A new rule actually just passed May 25th of this year. Qualified supervisors are required to submit the verification of clinical experience form within 7 days of ending supervision with an intern. So you want to go ahead and file that complaint against the supervisor. Unfortunately, you will need to go before the full board for review and provide some type of alternative verification of experience, since you cannot have the form signed by the supervisor. So when it's time for you to submit that full licensure application, then you will need to provide some additional documents, unless you go extra time with another supervisor.
Yeah, she paid on an online website for the qualified supervisor. So she has the printout of where she paid. So I'll have her go on that website and file a complaint.
Right, it's the intern that needs to file, not the supervisor on behalf of the intern.
Either one could.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
Okay.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Do we have any more questions? Anyone else have any more questions?
If you don't have any questions, please take down my information. You may think of something later. At the very top is my direct contact information, ashley.urban@flhealth.gov, and my phone number. And at the bottom of the screen is our general inbox, mqa.491@flhealth.gov, and our phone number is 850-245-4292. There's always someone there manning the phone from 8 to 5 each weekday.
Excellent. I do have a quick question on the provisional license. Does the provisional licensed person have to do the education, the laws and rules and all that in order to get provisional license, or those are things that have to happen before full licensure?
Those are things that have to happen before full licensure.
Okay. Okay. And what happens if someone does not have the full number of hours from practicum once they graduate? What is the mechanism by which to do that, to get the rest of those hours?
So they can continue to register as a marriage and family therapy intern and earn those hours with their qualified supervisor. There's actually a separate form that is available on the website that will allow them to document those hours that they are completing with the qualified supervisor.
All right, excellent, excellent. All righty then. Well, if there are no more questions, I want to thank you, Ashley, and everyone who has joined today. I appreciate that very much. Richard, I think you had a question about becoming a registered agent for someone who is needs a registered agent in Florida who wants to do the telehealth. Ashley, is that in your purview, or is that a question for another department?
Unfortunately, that's a question for another department. The registered agents fall under the Department of State. So you want to contact the Department of State to register as a registered agent.
Very good. Very good. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I hope everyone got their questions answered. It's a process. you know, you have to get your master's, hopefully from an accredited program. That makes life a lot easier. And if you happen to be currently enrolled in a program that is not programmatically accredited, you need to hurry up and graduate and get registered before 2027.
Right.
But then, because after that, you will not be allowed to register as a MFT or mental health counseling intern, but specifically MFT. Then there's the registered intern process, the application, the fee, education, all that stuff. There's the licensure process, and then there's the licensure application at the end of all of that. And there are places along the way that if life happens and you expire in your 5 years, the best way to get that easy is to pass the exam. Pass the exam as soon as humanly possible, because even if there's a slow train to getting your hours, there are provisions for you to be able to do that. You can get a provisional license, give you, other things can happen, but pass the exam. That seems to be the biggest sticking pace for everybody. Anyone have any last words?
I see some questions in the chat about
we have a
how
couple more.
the slides will be available and where will the recording be available.
So the recording will be uploaded to YouTube as soon as I can get back into our YouTube account. What I hope to do is to get the slides posted in the Facebook page. So if you go to the Florida Interest Network Facebook page is where the slides will be available, and also where, when we upload it to YouTube, where the recording will be available.
Thank you.
All right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm learning, but
Ashley-
little by little, I'm learning.
Good to see you again, Larry.
Ashley and staff, sincere thanks for taking your time and your energy and your talent and sharing it with us this evening.
Thank you for having us today. This is always a very valuable conversation between the network, the associations, and the board office. So we look forward to doing this each year with you. If you want to do it more often, if you want different information, want to have a different type of town hall meeting, just let us know. We're happy to provide that to you.
Excellent.
Thank you so
It's great to be able to put a face with a name after years. So
Yes, it is. I was thinking the same thing. I've been talking to you for years now. I had no idea how handsome you were.
Aw. And she's a silver-tongued devil as well as being the executive director. Look at that.
Yes,
All
she is.
right, very
Hey.
good.
Ashley, it's Melinda talking. Please
Yes.
send Janet our very best.
I sure will. And
Yeah.
she has to be busy because she has asked me about this town hall meeting at least 3 times in the last week. So I'm
Oh, my
assuming she's
word.
on a very high assignment right now. So just
Well,
know that
just
she
tell her
wishes
that
she can be here.
Yeah, tell her that we just really appreciate her and we're delighted to have you, but we miss her and we're so proud of all of you and really just grateful for your communication and your access and your time and talent. So thanks a million, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Hi, Larry.